Says we are live. Hello, Gun Nation. How's everyone doing? We've got a special guest this evening. How are you doing, 1776?
I'm doing great. I hope everybody's doing great as well.
Yeah.
It's good to be back.
Yeah.
I haven't died. I'm still alive, damn it.
Yeah, we dug him up and got him back on the chat. So wanted to the reason I didn't announce it is because he was making sure he could do it. So this will be it'll be a surprise for everyone.
Big Johnson paid me $10,000 to appear on this. So
yeah.
Full disclosure, $10K. That's my asking price.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's full-blown sponsored. How about that?
Oh yeah. Woohoo.
Yeah. Excited to have a blast from the past. But I wanted to get him on and find out what's going on with him, how he's been, all that good stuff, have him answer questions. If y'all got any questions, go ahead and start shooting them out now. I would normally do a roll call, but it looks like everything's flying. I appreciate everyone being on. I know 17 does too. Appreciate him coming on. But how you been, man? What's been going on?
I've been great. I just took some steps back away from YouTube for a lot of different things. Obviously I got two small kids who've gotten a lot bigger over the past couple of years. So I've got my son who's going to be turning 16, my daughter who's going to be 15 next year, but they're both in competitive sports. And, anybody who has kids and have been through the process, you realize that as they get older, the time commitment is just astronomical. So there's no time for anything really, to be honest with you. If I'm not with my son, with my daughter, and then my wife and I will swap. So we've just been at softball tournaments, lacrosse tournaments, you name it, man. So it's just been insane. But it's going to be over in 2 years for my son and 3 years for my daughter. So just put 100% in it now, and then later on, hopefully it'll pay off for them.
Oh, sure. I mean, that's a big deal. I've been through that. Of course, I'm older than you, but I've been through that. And it's great to be able to spend time with your kids, be part of it. And, family's first, man. Family's first.
And I also have been secretly trying to get Governor Cuomo fired. So as you guys can see, that worked. So you're all welcome in New York, thanks to me. But no, that is not true. That's not true. I didn't get him fired. His penis got him fired.
We just need a bunch more of them to be fired, not just him, but a bunch more.
Oh, I know. The entire legislature in New York State needs to be fired at this point. But we'll start with the kingpin.
I was going to say, and other states. It's a crazy thing, man. This, you're seeing it. We're all seeing all this crazy stuff that's happening. It's not fun, and definitely it would be even worse in a left-leaning type state or blue state. I mean, it's crazy. Definitely crazy.
But I've got to say that and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about it tonight. But it's going to be an interesting void to fill with Cuomo gone. I mean, obviously, Lieutenant Governor is stepping up. Do I think she's going to run for re-election? Of course, every politician will. But do I think she'll win? No, because I don't think she's got the backing of the real liberal left here in the state. But some of the names that have been throwing their names around as future candidates, Comrade de Blasio is one. Al Sharpton is another. And of course, Letitia James, who is the Attorney General of New York State, are all probably going to be vying for that seat in 2022. So I've already told my wife that if de Blasio wins the governorship here in New York State, I'm leaving. I don't give a shit about retirement or anything. I'm out. I'm not staying here if de Blasio wins.
Yeah. Well, and you've got, there's some other prospects, as far as Republican type, but who knows? I mean, I know that the city, of New York pretty much runs the show there. So,
all the urban areas, Buffalo, Rochester, New York City, they're the hot spots, and that's why we can't ever get an actual real governor. Yeah. So, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough deal, and I'm wondering if, not just that, not with Cuomo, but I'm just wondering if some of this other stuff is happening due to kind of a smoke screen of the 2022 election that's coming up too.
It could be. It's I would think that everybody who has seen and been a part of New York, I think the biggest the thing that everybody should look at is what has been the record of the Democrat Party in New York State, and it's been nothing but corruption. I mean, I don't think anybody who lives in New York was surprised about any of the allegations against Cuomo. I mean, that's his MO. That's who he is. That's who he's been. That's who his whole family has been. So it's not a surprise. I mean, none of the things that came out were like, oh my God, what a revelation. Everybody knows Cuomo's a dirtbag. Everybody knows that he's corrupt and he's all about favors with his friends. And so nothing was crazy. Nothing was out of the ordinary. And it had been going on for years. You know, I think right now it just, I think, I don't know what happened. I think they're trying to get somebody even more liberal in the governor's office, because he, as much as an asshole as he wasn't extreme left. So now I think that's going to be the goal, is to get somebody even more extreme in the governorship, because, you know, that's their plan. At least that's what I'm thinking of. So
if you get any more extreme left, they're going to tilt over.
I know.
Yeah, no, I was meaning like all of the stuff that's going on in our country right now, you know, kind of a smoke screening for the 2022 election as a whole. Because, you know, with all the, you know, the stuff that's happened, and everybody knows where I'm going with this. But, you know, what's crazy is we, you know, of course, Cuomo, or, you know, did this and did that and touched this and touched that. But yet we've got a sniffer, you know, in the big house. So I don't know. So it was like a sniffer calling out a sniffer. So it was like, I don't, you know.
Yeah, I know. But that's the whole hypocrisy behind everything that is government. You know, somebody mentioned up here I should run for governor of New York. It's kind of funny you said that, because we were at something in my local town here, and we were meeting new people. So every time I introduce myself as the future governor of New York State, and that I was running for the 2022 election. So you know, everybody got a good laugh out of it. I actually think I could have gotten at least 5 votes. So who knows? Maybe I'll be on the ballot, and then Bald and Curious can be my attorney general.
There you go. Yeah, you could be like, go to the chopper.
That's right. Yeah, you want gun? Here, flamethrower. Take it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You want little gun? No, take big gun.
Take giant tank. Here, drive it.
Yeah,
blow shit up.
Now, what else has been going on? I know you got the family stuff, you got all that going on, but what else has been going on? Anything as far as,
you know, just I mean, you know, I've been making some videos here and there, very spotty. I mean, you know, I did a live chat actually right after yours last week with Icarus Precision. That got banned because we were showing way too many guns live, which was funny, because during the live stream I even said this video is getting completely removed from YouTube, and I said I didn't care. You know, whatever. So we did that. It was great. I mean, you know, it's a great company, great group of people, and it's made me 100% in with the 365. It's just the modularity of the gun is just phenomenal, and it's hard to beat it. So I've gotten all in on that. You know, I did a PDP video. That gun's pretty good. Still a little iffy on the plate. I think the plate is going to be an issue long term. I've seen other videos where they're talking about that as well. There's nothing really anchoring anything in. It's just a couple of screws. Yeah. So I think that's going to be a detriment to that gun. Now, will it be a detriment to my gun? Probably not, because I'm not going to be shooting 4 million rounds through it and rolling through, you know, dirt and concrete and everything. But, you know, I would suspect that at some point there's going to be a failure on that. I'm just waiting for somebody else to experience that before me.
Yeah, you're not going to be banging it off of a, you know, 2x4 or anything. You know,
no, I'm just not that. I'm not that cool, so I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Hey man, Rabbi threw $4.99 in there. I appreciate you, Rabbi.
Shalom, Rabbi.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I just want to throw this out there. I've been watching this amazing show on Netflix. It just came out. I can't remember what the hell it's called, but it's about this Israeli guy who gets hooked up with this American girl in Israel. And I'm not going to tell you more, because it doesn't, what it appears to be is not what it is. And it's actually very good. I just watched. It's excellent. Isn't that an excellent show?
I just started it. I was like, okay, this is like, I'm like, the first episode this happens. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it's really good, man.
Yeah, I think I've watched like an episode and a half, but I just couldn't believe what happened in the first episode, because I'm like, how are they going to continue this? But whatever.
Right. Well, then I wasn't thinking of anything. And then when I saw the dude break the other guy's neck in his house, I'm like, this guy isn't what he's appearing to be. So
yeah,
very good show.
I saw that too, I was like, and I saw the tattoos, and I'm like, I think this guy has a special set of skills. But
yes, very
really
special. Liam Neeson level special set of skills.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good. I got to episode 3 today.
We've got.
I don't even know, man.
You just go to your like new.
Yeah, it's like I think it's on trending or something or new releases, but it's a show. It's really good, very good, and it's in English, but it's also in whatever they speak, Yiddish, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. So it's hit and run. That's it. Hit and run. Mm-hmm. Hit and run. That's what it. Yes, that's what it is. It's very good.
That's the name of it. Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy, but.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, gun-wise, I actually was going to do another video. Haven't done it yet because I'm just lazy. But I took out the P01, P07 again, just kind of see them side by side, shoot them again. I haven't shot them in forever, really. They're great guns. They really are. I mean, it's you don't really realize it until you shoot them again, where you're like, holy shit, these are really good guns, and I mean, is there a significant difference between the two? I mean, aside from metal versus polymer, not much. Not much. They both shoot really great and they're reliable, and they're just really good guns, excellent guns.
Yeah, out of the two, I mean, I'll say one thing that I do prefer better. Okay, well, actually, there's two things, and you already know about the trigger. I prefer the flatter trigger of the Omega. We know that. Okay, but I'm just saying, I do prefer the wider slide because I've got larger hands. Maybe other people don't, but when you grab that skinny slide on the P01, it's just really skinny. The P07 is wider, and I tend to get a better grip on it. Now, of course, you put an optic on either. You can rack it from the optic if you choose to. But I do prefer the wider slide, just me personally. But they're both great guns. It's just whatever you like. And now, of course, the P01 stock is more customizable. You can do the trigger kit. On an Omega, you can only do so much. So
right.
But yeah, and that's another thing. When you were talking about Icarus Precision and stuff, I made the comment on that too. That's kind of where I was going. If you can take a gun that you really like and that you're going to keep, and then you can kind of customize it, whether it be a frame or whatever, or Cerakote it or put a plate on it or a direct mill or whatever. I find it more, I guess more fun to customize the gun to where it fits you particularly, not just to where you could just go out and buy it the next day off the shelf. I like to make it my own. And I think that's pretty cool that you did that with that 365.
Yeah, and that particular platform obviously allows itself to be so customizable, whether it's grip modules, whether it's barrels and comps and red dots and this and that and everything else. I don't really know. I mean, you can obviously see that with like Glocks, things like that, but just the amount of versatility that the entire Sig lineup, really, at least the 320 lineup and the 365s, it just allows itself to be so customizable that it's hard to kind of pass up. And honestly, do I like my 320? I actually just shot my X Compact the other day as well. It's a great gun. I mean, it really is. Is it my favorite gun? Not particularly. I mean, there's a lot of things about the firearm that I don't really care for. I hate the fact that it feels like it sits 65 feet off my hand. Yeah. But I mean, is it reliable? Yeah, mine's been reliable. Does it shoot well? It shoots better than me. And I just think the fact that you can do so many things with it just allows it to be that much more, I guess, viable for the gun community as a whole. Yeah.
I think options are good, and I, personally, I mean, with me, I lost, some favor with Sig. Nothing's wrong with them. They run great. I guess a couple of them I did, one didn't, but I just kind of, I guess when I favored with other guns and doing like a direct comparison, just for me personally, I'm not knocking them, but I kind of fell out of love with them. I think they really, really do a fantastic job with their metal guns. I mean, they're just outstanding. 226, 229, Legion, all of that. I mean, they're just fantastic guns. But their polymer, a little lackluster. I had, and just so I can really quantify my reason, I had problems with mags right out of the box. Now I had the old Italian mags. I bought a ton of them, but then when they switched over to the Czech, gosh, what's the name of it? It was when they went away from Metgars.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Checkmate or whatever mags. Hell, I couldn't even get 14 rounds in the freaking mag. And I contacted them. They sent me new mags, and that was fixed. That was when they first changed. And then I just, like you said, the really high bore axis, and you can shoot it. It's fine. It doesn't really change it. But I was like, just kind of fell out of love with it. So.
Right. And that's kind of the normal, I think that's the normal appetite for most of us. I think for me, if let's say I didn't have an aluminum lower on all of the 320s I own and that 365, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I'd have those guns, because I wouldn't. I mean, there's nothing about them to me that is better or superior to anything else. I mean, I've been doing a lot of changing with some of the tastes that I have in guns. I know I haven't been on in a while, and I like, for example, I'm going to fully disclose this now. I wound up getting rid of my Steyr. And it was a great gun. I loved shooting it, but I woke up one day and I said, you know what? I'm sick of Steyr. I am. And not because the gun sucks. I hate the fucking company. I think they suck. They don't do anything for that handgun. And then, of course, I had the issue with a little bit of the sticky trigger safety there. And when I called them, I mean, the guy was great, very friendly man. But, one thing I didn't say was every time I called them and they put me on hold, I get disconnected. And it happened like 15 times. So then they finally gave me the number directly to the guy I had to actually talk to. And when I spoke to him, he's like, well, why don't you try this out or try that out? I said, I felt like saying, dude, I don't want to try shit out. I shouldn't have to try this out. You should be saying, I'm going to send you a prepaid, whatever the fuck it is, box or whatever. So you can send all the shit back to me. Yeah. Because then it's like, I'm altering my firearm, and I shouldn't be, because I'm not an expert gunsmith. That has nothing to do with me. Now, was I able to correct the problem? I think so. It didn't happen anymore. And like I said, there was a little burr on the back of that trigger safety that just needed to be removed. But I really think, for me, I finally have seen a little bit of the light on certain guns and certain manufacturers where I'm just like saying, you know what? I feel like I pushed Steyr for years, and same thing with TN Steyr, and they just don't give a shit. And I'm like, why do I want this gun? I can't find a goddamn holster for it. Can't find night sights barely for it. So like, what am I doing with this thing? It was just pointless. So, I got rid of it.
You do have a question. Or you have multiple questions. Do you still have your Strike B?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. And are you still playing with 1911s?
I am, actually, not too many. Obviously I had that run with Springfield. I could probably connect with them still to get what is that new one they just came out with, the one that Keenan. That's pretty cool looking. It's pretty nice looking, So I thought about hitting them up to see if I can get that in. So it's never out of the picture. Now, is it something that I would say, oh, I gotta have one? Not really. I mean, it's just not. There really, honestly, there really hasn't been much to really say, holy crap, I gotta get this one or I gotta get that one. I did buy one new handgun this summer, but I don't want to say what it is yet because I don't have it in my hands yet. I mean, I've got it. No, I'm still waiting for that Caracal. I'm still waiting, man.
Yeah.
Still waiting.
Yeah. Bold and Curious is, I guess someone was asking about Kimbers. Guy Comet was asking about it right here. I don't know if you have any opinions on Kimbers. Me personally, I prefer the old Kimbers over any of the newer Kimbers. Back when they really refined them and things like that. I'm not saying that they're bad, but there's definitely better options for the price point. I would definitely go Dan Wesson way before I went with a Kimber personally, but that's just a personal opinion. But I think fit, finish, and everything.
What would wouldn't there be a substantial price difference between the Dan Wesson and a Kimber?
I know I've seen some super expensive Kimbers. I mean, Dan Wessons are actually, if you find them right, even new, some of them are fairly reasonable. Depends on if you're wanting like a bobbed version, a commander, a full, short. I mean, there's all different options. Really, it depends on what model you're wanting. But even if it's $200 or $300 more, I personally would go with the Dan Wesson. When you really take them apart and you look at the full fit finish, things like that, a lot of like even Sig 1911s and stuff like that, a lot of them have MIM parts on them. And I'm not a big fan of MIM. I've had some MIM failures. People are like, MIM's great. You haven't shot your shit enough. If you're really hammering down on some stuff, I've broken a MIM trigger and I've broken a MIM hammer. So on a 1911, and it was the Sig, it was a 1776 Sig edition. And I shot the shit out of it, and I broke the hammer and I broke the trigger. So it can happen. So don't depend on MIM for life. You know, there's different, and I know that you can have a bad MIM part where the metals, you know, weren't correctly molded. I mean, I know that things can happen. It can have an inferior crack in it, but MIM parts can fail. I prefer non-MIM parts. So, but what I did on that is I bought the EGW forged parts, and I changed the trigger, I changed the hammer, I changed all the guts in it to all the correct, you know, old school 1911 parts, and never had a problem after that. So,
I mean, if I was going to go into the 1911 world and I had a ton of money to spend, I'm going Nighthawk.
Oh yeah.
Like those things are, I mean, I've looked at a few of them and I kind of laugh because the ones I'm looking at are like $5,000, $6,000. I'm like, no, that's a used car for my son right there. So no, that ain't happening. But they're beautiful guns. I mean, my local gun shop has, I think, 5 or 6 of them. And every time I go in there, he's always, oh, you should buy one. I'm like, yeah, if you're going to sell it to me for $50, maybe. But yeah, I mean, they're beautiful guns.
Now,
but
enough
for that.
They're all handcrafted and things like that, and I can definitely appreciate that. Matter of fact, I would put Nighthawk on the current Les Bears, and well, the Les Bears, the Ed Browns are nicer, but on the current Les Bears, I would take a Nighthawk over a Les Bear. The current one's not my old one. You know, they're really cheapened out on a lot of them that they didn't do in the past. But I just think best bang for the buck. Everything you're getting, it's really, really hard to beat a Dan Wesson. It just is for the price point.
Well, let me ask you this. What are your thoughts about a Springfield? I mean, Springfield, I mean, again, I'm very limited knowledge-wise with the 1911 platform, but the ones I've been able to shoot, I mean, they seem like they're very nicely put together. You know, there's not a lot of play in them. The magazines seem to feed really reliably. So I've been impressed. And maybe that's because I'm, you know, 1911 stupid, but
no, it's not that.
They're not bad.
Put it this way, the old the old Springfield TRP is freaking awesome. I mean, it is a fantastic 1911. Their newer stuff looks really nice, but I'm the type of person, I'm not going to recommend something until I really, really try it out. They look really good. You know, I mean, the name is hit and miss with some people, so and I understand that. But for the price point, I think it's a good option. That new one looks really nice. It's got the frag grips. It's got some, you know, different stuff done to it. Would I run out and buy one? If it was between a Springfield and a Dan Wesson, I would still get the Dan Wesson. But I had the option, you know, like they were going to say, hey, we're going to send it to you. You can test it out. You can see what you think. You know, I would test it out and give my honest opinion on it, of course. But, you know, anybody that has one, I wouldn't knock it, you know, for what it is, but I believe they also use some MIM parts too. And I'm not just saying, you know, you can get a really quality pistol and can have some MIM parts and be great. You know, I just had those 2 particular things break on that Sig, and that's why I changed them out and was like, I'm not messing with this crap anymore. But we all know from the past, anybody that's been a Sig true fan or liked their stuff, we're basically beta testers for all their shit. We know that, or a lot of people have been in the past. You know, look at the Sig Cross, look at the 320, you know, I mean, example after example. And this 1911 that broke. And I even called them and I told them, hey, I've got a broken hammer. I sent them pictures. I did everything I was supposed to do. And they're like, well, you broke that. I'm like, how the hell did I didn't drop the gun. There's no scratches on it. You know,
I broke it shooting
it. Or you beat it on something. And I'm like, seriously? And then he looked at the 1776 edition. Okay, if anybody knows anything about it, it has a distressed, battle-worn finish from the factory. Took a picture of it, really good picture. And he's like, oh, that gun's all scratched up. I'm like, it's the factory distressed finish, you jackass. And he was like, oh, sorry. I'm like, God damn, man. I'm just, you know, that wasn't a cheap gun. And I'm just like, screw this crap. Hey, what's up,
Let me ask you two things. Well, let me say one thing, and then let me ask you a question. So the first thing was Bald asked if we could shoot in my backyard. Unfortunately, we cannot because I'm too close to a road. That's great. And I have new neighbors on my other side who I do not believe are gun-friendly people. What a surprise. Also, my question to you would be about the Springfield thing. Do you think that more and more people are forgetting, or maybe not even forgetting, but just don't even care anymore? Because if you look at the success of that Hellcat, I mean, I think everybody and anybody has either owned one, shot one, or I don't know, whatever, has pictures on their wall of one. I've never owned one, haven't shot one. I don't really care to because I don't like the gun. But what I mean, do you think that maybe more and more people have now kind of moved past the whole Springfield thing?
I think the diehard, like the OG guys, they have not, but I think the newer people who were introduced to the Hellcat and the Hellcat RDP and things like that, I think some of those people, especially with all the new gun owners that have came in, I don't think they were really even aware of it. I don't think they went back and checked. They were just like, I like that gun and bought it. But honestly, if you really think about it, the Hellcat and the RDP Hellcat has basically put Springfield back on the map. They could completely trash those grip zone pieces of shit, whatever those things are. I'm not knocking anybody.
They don't even do them anymore.
I hate that freaking gun.
Yeah, the Mod 2s are gone, dude. Mod 2s are gone. So now all they have is the Elite series and then the fucking Hellcat or whatever.
Okay, because I still see some of them in some older gun stores. I guess they just haven't sold them, or they've been there.
Right.
And they're new. They're not used. But you know, I look at them and I'm just like, who came up with this shit? I mean, that was just so freaking stupid. But I think the Hellcat has really, you know, taken off, especially now they've got the 15 round mag, and then granted it's longer, but I think that's really, and it's optic, you know, some are optic ready. I just think that's really given them the whole thing. I mean, and I when I saw the new 1911 come out, the first thing that popped into my mind is if they could make that, if Springfield came out with a 2011, you know, just like a more modernized 2011 to kind of get into that ring and maybe do an optic ready version, I was like, that would be pretty fucking, you know, or excuse me, pretty freaking cool. So, you know, I think the Hellcat, I mean, even myself, and I don't carry tiny guns. I have a couple of them, but if I were going to go buy one today, you know, you got the 365, you've got the Hellcat, you know, you got the Glock 43, 48, we know all that. If I were going to go buy one, and I have tried them all and I've shot all of them, I would personally, not with the name, just the gun, liking it myself in bigger hands, I personally prefer the Hellcat out of all of those. Now, I would run the 15 round mag because I do like the length, but I mean, it just, you know, it's a little thicker. It just feels better in my hand. And actually, I shot it great. I shot Humble Marksman's, and I was like, wow, I shot it. And I was like, damn, I kind of like the sights. Now, I didn't shoot it with an optic on it because he didn't have that on his yet. But I was pretty impressed with it for just gun to gun to gun. I shot the 43. I didn't like it at all. It was just too tiny. I'm sorry, I have not shot the 48. I've seen it, put it in my hand, but I have not shot it. 365, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's a good gun, but it's just too skinny. It's just not for me personally. Now, with with your Icarus lower on it, I might actually like that.
Yeah. And you know, even with the new one, they just brought out the Elite. That's going to be out in September. Little plug there. But you know, they've actually increased the actual radius of the grip just slightly, really tiny amount. But you definitely feel a difference. Like I took it to the range the other day. You know, it was comped out. It had everything on there. That gun shot like a full-size steel gun, no recoil. It was extremely accurate. I'm not a big fan of the Romeo optic on that thing, that piece of plastic. You know, if it was my slide and I was keeping it, I'd get rid of that fucking Romeo right off the bat and get something better. But I mean, it's very impressive. It's definitely very impressive to shoot. I actually shot it without the comp as well. So I had the XL slide on it, and it was great. It just changes the dynamics of the gun. You know, I know some people say, oh, you're just trying to shill for it. No, I'm not. I'm telling you, it is a different shooting experience. You know, the additional weight is a huge difference. While it may be minute on the scale, it is not when you're shooting it. And it just feels like a better gun overall because of that addition. So for me, I got rid of my 48. My 43X is gone. I kept the 365 because it's just so much more versatile for me, and I like the gun better overall.
Yeah,
I think it's built better.
And a lot of people don't realize, like I've seen people shoot guns and like, smaller gripped guns, and, they can get 3 fingers on it, but the pinky kind of hangs off.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, and I'm watching them shoot, and you can see a lot of rise in the gun. And they're like, oh, that group's good enough for me. But people don't realize that pinky is what really adds the leverage to your gun. If you can get even if you have small hands and you can get your pinky on it, you can control that gun better because that creates downward level. You won't have the flip or the rise in the front end. But a lot of people think it's gripping these 3 fingers. Actually, if you just laid these 3 fingers on there and really grip with your pinky, you could actually shoot it pretty flat. And a lot of people don't realize that. So that's why if I can't get my damn pinky on them, which I can't on most guns, I'm just like, if they don't have a larger extension, I mean, even on my P10C, I shoot it, I love it. It's a great gun, but I run the +2s so I can get my damn pinky on it. Otherwise, even on a C, my finger just hangs off there, and I can still shoot it okay. But when I had that extension, it's way more accurate for me. So, which is
exactly why Walther designed the little whatever the hell they call, I can't remember. But no offense to anybody who's a Walther fan. I'm a Walther fan, except for the CCP, which everybody hopefully knows that by now. But to me, that's gimmicky. That is just a gimmick, because if you had a PPQ and you put it side by side with that PDP, it's exactly the same grip. And they didn't mention shit about it when I owned like 3 PPQs years ago. But to me, that was bullshit. Everything else on there, I think, is pretty accurate. With the serrations are friggin' ridiculous. I think you could probably cut some cheese, not fart guys, just cutting literal cheese with it, because the serrations are so sharp on there. The trigger is, I shot now 500 rounds through the gun. There's absolutely nothing on that trigger bar. There's no grinding. It is as smooth as you can get on a striker fired trigger, which shouldn't be a surprise. I mean, it's a better trigger than a PPQ. It's optic ready, obviously, so that's a huge proponent for most people. I'm still kind of like, I don't know, man. Optics are cool and all, but I don't know. I still am not fully on board with it, but I still try. And overall, it works. I mean, it's a good shooting gun. The stippling on there is great. I mean, it is a very good, solid gun. But I just wonder about some of the parts of it that I'm a little concerned with. Obviously, the optic plate and the way it's mounted. So, but other than that, it's not a bad gun.
When they hit their heyday and everybody was trying to get them, and Gun Broker was blowing up and all that, I went into my, Texas Gun Experience, and I was talking to them, and I'm like, where's your PDPs? I don't see them out here. And they're like, we've got them in the back. We've got 15 of them. So I went back there. I looked at the full-size grip, the short, everything. I checked them all out. And I was looking at them and playing with them, and I was just like, yeah, this grip feels pretty good. Of course, the longer one, like the 19X, I was like, okay, this one feels good. This one's not good for me. But I was just looking at them, and I was like, yeah, it seems good. I really like the traction on it. It seemed pretty grippy. But I was like, okay, and now, of course, it didn't have the plate, because you got to order the plate from, Walther, whatever you choose. But I was looking at the little thing, and they had one of them because they were putting them on Gun Broker and showing them. But they had one with the plate pulled off, laying on the thing. They were taking pictures of it. And I looked at it, and I was just kind of like, I don't see any bosses in there. I don't see any like lugs, like the P10 has. And
there's nothing.
And I was like, okay, everything's on the screws. And then I know that people have talked about that, but I personally don't have, any experience with it. So, and I didn't have the plate to put in there to see if there was any movement. So I didn't know, but I've seen after the fact, and I'm like, I really prefer the bosses, or to have some kind of lock-in, even like the MOS, which I'm not a huge fan of the MOS, but there wasn't enough for that gun to really push me to really want one. Like I said, anybody that has one, great. I hope it works out well for you. But I was just like, doesn't really check a box that I need, because I damn sure don't need any more striker fire guns.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange gun. If I had my PPQ still, I probably wouldn't even entertain it, but I wanted a Walther again because I do like them. I find them to be extremely reliable. The ergonomics have always been good, and their triggers have always been great. And, it's kind of weird because I think I've owned every single Walther that's been produced in the 20th century, maybe not. That's not true, but whatever. A little hyperbole. The only one I've never owned was like a 22 or a 380, you know, like the PPK or something like that. But I've owned everything, and
Now,
you know,
did you have the Q4 steel?
No, I have not had that one. That's one I was looking at too. I was actually going to pull the trigger on that one, but then I decided not to do it. I wanted to get one, and that's why I'm a little even confused with Walther. Like, they put all this money and invested in the Q5 steel and then the Q4 steel with basically it's a PPQ on steroids, you know? And then they come out with the PDP, which is kind of a new generation of PPQ, which it's taking over. PPQ is done. They're not, you know, producing them anymore. And you know, what I found was that when I owned a Walther Creed, which was an okay gun, but it would not be my first choice as best Walther ever made. I really feel like there's a lot of similarities between the PDP and the Creed, because the Creed sat really blocky in your hand. It was kind of like a hair dryer almost. And the PDP kind of reminds me a little bit of that feel that I got with the Creed. A much better handgun, but very similar to that. And I think that's where I'm kind of off put on it a little bit. Don't get me wrong, very good gun. You know, do I think you should break down doors to go and buy one? I don't think so. I think if you're a Walther fan and you really like the PPQ, then I think it would be a normal progression into the next generation. But, you know, I don't know. I'd be hard pressed if I saw a PPQ sitting in front of me for, let's say, $400, which I don't think we can find that anymore. And then I saw a PDP brand new for $600. I'd probably go to the PPQ because, to me, I just like the feel and the look of the gun. If you could give me a PPQ with the PDP lower, I'd be very happy with that, because the lower is what makes it. It's a much better feel in the hand just because of the texturing alone.
Yeah, and see, and I've even put pictures up a lot on this, but they got some more of them in. You know, the Q5 steel, but they're the special editions with all the scrolly mark, and you know, they got the black version and the stainless version of the Walther that are like $2,500 to $3,500 for a Walther Q5. I'm like, steel Q5, and I'm like, really, guys, come on.
Yeah.
But they still got those, and people have been buying them. But I'm just like, man, seriously.
If they would have made them in aluminum, I would have bought one.
Yeah, but you know, like I said,
I don't need a steel gun.
You know, and plus, if you're getting a scrolled gun, or you're going to have a gun in, you know, like done that way professionally, it's like it has that stupid big old Q5 banner on it. It's got the big Walther banner, and I'm like, really, that's tacky as shit. I mean, just do your scroll work, because that's what the people are paying for. You don't need your. And every time I've seen a Walther banner, and I'm not being a dick, I'm just being honest. Every time I see that Walther banner, I think of the banquet TV dinners. That, if you remember, that's what the hell it reminds me of. Every time I see that Walther, the blue Walther thing, it reminds me of the banquet TV dinners, but that's just me. And somebody's asking if you cracked a PPQ frame. I mean, I know the story, but
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I did, but that was more me than the gun. I was lucky that Walther was willing to send me a new frame, because that took a lot of convincing on my part. So
I was going to say, they could probably just look at your 19,000 PPQ videos. And probably go,
I know.
Oh, okay.
I know there was definitely a trend for a while there with Walther and Steyr, and it got me absolutely nowhere. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, they're good guns, but you know. I don't know, like Walther misses the boat with me, and I think with most people, because it's like they design a really cool thing with the PP, with the optics and all this other shit on it, but then they don't really modernize the design. Like, I really think if we're talking like future guns, I mean, what would be most of the things we'd want? We'd want a really good trigger. Okay, Walther came out with that, great. You'd want good texturing. Okay, great. Walther came out with that. Good serrations, because if you're cool, you'll do the front, you know, press check. They came out with that. But then they make this gun that feels like a block is on top of the lower. And I'm like, why can't you slim this shit down and make it sit lower in your hand, for God's sakes, and still have the optic cut? It's just like, I really think if manufacturers got to go and push that envelope, man, go crazy.
Yeah. Do you know, and I'm being completely honest, when I had my PPQ and I looked at it, I was like, God, that's a tall slide. And then I saw, you know, the PDP and things like that. But those slides on the Walther, do you know what they remind me of? And everybody's going to laugh, but they remind me of a freaking high point. Because, you know, in high point, they're even more bulky, but it's just like when you hold it, it's just, I mean, the damn thing looks like it's this tall, and then you add an optic and it's that tall. I mean, it's just so freaking big.
Yeah.
And yes, I can shoot it. I shot my PPQ fine, even though it had a lot of front flip just because it's so freaking light in the front end. But I mean, like I said, the trigger is awesome. I mean, I'll give them that. But now, I don't know if you've had any experience with this, but Pistol Pete is talking about Holosun did release the 507 ACSS in green, and I did see that, and I was like, holy shit, that's cool. Speaking of that, I actually went this past weekend. I went Saturday, and I shot the ACCS reticle again. You know, I've got one, and I was just, you know, dialing it in and everything. So I really shot it quite a bit, and I'm actually really liking it. So, and I'm not going to give it all away. There's some things that are a little different. But if anybody's on the fence about the ACSS reticle in the Holosun 507K, I can pretty much say I recommend it, especially if you have astigmatism. And you do have a question here on, do you still have any of your M&Ps, or have you picked up any more M&Ps?
I have not picked up any. I've parted way with Smith for a while. I thought about picking an optic ready one, but you know, like I said, things have changed. Like I'm actually starting to look a little bit more at again, metal guns. I'm really starting to get back on that bandwagon quite a bit. You know, I've been looking at Berettas again a lot. I'm actually looking at trying to pick up a cheap 92G Centurion, which is kind of an interesting model because it's kind of like a hybrid. It's got the Vertec grip. It's got supposedly a 92 slide on it, but it has a removable front sight, which is not common to you know, the 92s. And I'm trying to get it for cheap because I want to fix it up. I want to, you know, remove all the internals, put brand new internals in, and then send it out for some Cerakoting. So similar to what I did the 90-2, because I really like those guns. And when you buy one that looks abused, it's super easy to fix them. I mean, it's so easy to do. The parts are available everywhere, and it's very easy to work on. And then when you fix it up and you make it look pretty, I mean, those guns are really good guns. So that's kind of like what I saw on my next part of my agenda, is to just do another work like that, because I do like doing that stuff.
Yeah, Bald is saying love or hate Sig, but no other company innovates as them. And I would agree with that. They really do. However, you're the beta tester on 90% of the things that come out.
And I mean, yeah, I guess they do innovate, but then they don't really innovate. You know, the most innovative thing that SIG has ever done is done the removable control group. You know, that's it. Yeah. Other than that, nothing has changed.
Yeah,
it is a huge thing. And I give them credit for that because they ran with it, you know, and yeah, you know, Steyr sued them and lost and all that great stuff. But that, I think, has been their ticket, you know, because again, the 320 has not changed. I mean, you can get an X compact and you can get the original compact, remove the slides, and they look identical. I think the biggest innovative part of it was the fact that they had this trigger control group that serialized it, pop it out, put in a whole new frame, whole new lower, whole new slide, boom. Now you have a brand new gun. So I think that's where that innovation comes from.
And if you look at the Sig Cross, you know, their first bolt gun, that's basically just a knockoff of the Fix, you know. So, and then when it first came out, you could actually hit the side of the gun and the freaking thing would fire. So they had a recall on that. So, but I mean, you know, stuff can happen. We all know that. But what is your, and Keith is asking, what's my thought on Canic? What's your thought on Canic?
I mean, I had a real bad experience with Century Arms, which was importing Canic, you know, and I wasn't real happy. I mean, you know, I saw Honest Outlaw's video on the new Medi, they call it Medi, I don't know, whatever.
Meta, yeah.
Some shit. And I mean, it's like, it's basically reworked what appears to be like the Elite. But I mean, you know, the one I would say, great trigger, no doubt, great trigger. It's built, you know, the originals were, in my opinion, still built around the Walther. But, you know, for me right now, the one thing I hate about them is the thickness of the polymer on the back. Because they're thick in the back there. And I'm telling you, it busts my knuckle up every time I shot the damn thing. And that's really one of the very few guns, but even with the PDP, it does it a little bit. That's why I had to drop to the small back strap on there. But I mean, would I, if they came out with something cool, something that's a little bit different, I probably would look at one because they're cheap and they're fairly good. Most people would say that they're fairly good guns.
Yeah. Now my thoughts on them. I owned two Canics. You know, they were good guns for what they were. They had nice triggers, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, yes, you can get it. It's inexpensive. You know, it even has mag compatibility with, you know, some guns, but it all comes down to, and I know you had that issue with yours. I had an issue with mine, with one of them, my SF. I had an issue with it. And it took well, put it this way, it was almost like 12 or 13 weeks to get it fixed. And it was a pain in the ass to get them to fix it, but they fixed it. And then after they fixed it, I got it back and it still felt the same and it was kind of doing the same thing. So I sold it. But me personally, with what's out there, other than having that great Canic trigger, I don't see any, you know, major thing that just really throws me over the edge to have one. Even this new one, I'm like, okay, they put lipstick on a pig. It kind of looks like the Elite,
Right.
like you said.
Right.
But I'm not knocking anybody that has one. And if you want 3 or 4 of the same guns at an inexpensive price, that might be the gun for you.
Right. And I think that's the key to them. You know, I mean, if you want a gun that's roughly the same size as a Glock 19, but don't want to pay a Glock 19 price, I think it's a good viable option. You know, they're extremely affordable still. Even on, like, I go on Gun Broker and I'll look around. And even like that, whatever, the Salient Arms trigger that was put, I forget what they call that one, the Elite Combat or some shit. I don't even remember.
Magwell and all that stuff.
Yeah. Like those, it depends. Some guy was trying to sell his for like $2,200, and then right below it was another one for $750. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think you're going to be selling that for $2,200. But
Combat,
I mean,
Elite,
you know,
I think is what it was.
yeah. And then even if you didn't go with that top end model, you can still find some of the older models for $350, $340 around that area. So I mean, it's not bad. I mean, it's not a bad gun for that price.
Yeah. I just, you know, and that's the thing. And now granted, I'm older than a lot of people. So it's like, do I need to keep loading up on a bunch of freaking striker fire guns that I already have? I mean, there's just nothing that's just earth shattering that's out there, you know, and that's kind of, and I'm not knocking anybody, you know, because I've been there before too, but it's kind of like people, you know, jump from gun to, like, they'll buy a gun and they, you know, once the newness wears off, then it kind of gets pushed to the side and they go for the next thing. But if you really think about it, and I've been guilty of this in the past, and I've actually done this, you know, the gun that I just loved and loved and loved, and then I had to buy the next gun, I'll actually take those two guns on the same day with the same ammo and shoot them. And I shoot the freaking first gun. Now, granted, I've got more time behind it, but I'll shoot the first gun better than I shot the second, the newest gun. And I'm like, you know what? You're trying to chase better aim, better grip. You know, that's not from the freaking gun. That's from you. That all really goes down to the shooter. You know, it's kind of like, it's not the Indian, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. Now, when you get into single single action triggers, you know, that can definitely improve your shooting, and more weight, like a heavier gun, can improve your shooting and things like that. But people are always trying to chase the Polymer wonder. And there's, you know, they're really, at the end of the day, they're all the same old shit. You know, one might have a better trigger, but, you know,
see, I mean,
it's basically the same shit.
I can definitely agree, but I can also disagree just slightly, because, you know, I shot a bunch of my polymers the other day, and, you know, actually 2 weeks ago. And the one gun that I would say right now, to me, actually it's two guns, but whatever. The two guns that I'm favoring the most polymer striker right now is my 19X and my MR920. The MR920, I still think, you know, yeah, it was pricey, and it is still pricey. They've come down a little bit. I mean, I know the DR920 is actually pretty affordable. I mean, if you think $800, because I've seen them for about $800, I think that's a pretty good deal. I think what really sold me with the MR920 is just the full package of everything that comes with it. Good trigger, good sights, the mounting of the optic on there. You can't beat the way that thing mounts to that gun. It's just, there's nothing out there that even compares to that. And it's such an easy gun to shoot. It's light, not snappy. Ergonomically, it's not, you know, I mean, it's not anything to talk about, you know, because it's not bad, but it's not great. but there's something about the MR920 that for me has completely, it's clicked for me. I mean, somebody asked if I still carry it. I absolutely do still carry that gun quite a bit. I was actually just carrying my 19X the other day because I hadn't carried it in a while. And, I think for me, those are my two favorite polymers right now. Now, will that change? Of course it's going to change. Yeah. But right now, that's what I've kept very consistent with carrying those two firearms a lot.
And see, that's kind of funny that you said that, because I have the 19X now. It's all customized. It's got, everything on it. And then I've got the CZ P10F, and I've got two CZ P10Cs. But when I go shoot like the 19X, because it's got a little bit longer grip and it's got the tab. So when I shoot the Glock 19X, which is molded to my hand, it's not just a square, ugly thing. It's stippled. And then I shoot the P10F, which is a little bit longer in the grip. But when I shoot both of those guns, comparing one to the other, I actually shoot the P10F a little bit better, but I can shoot the 19X good, but the angle is different. That's the only thing I can say. So when I just grab it and throw it out there, I get better, sight alignment with the P10F right off the bat. The 19X, I've got to tilt it down just a tad. But I mean, they're great guns. You've got the Glock stock mags, and it takes 33 round mags, all that stuff. So you get a lot of compatibility there. But I shoot the P10Fs and the P10Cs out of my polymer guns probably the best, just for me. But if I was going to buy a Glock or a Glock clone, I would definitely get the Shadow systems, because it's pretty much done. You don't have to take a Glock and then put all the aftermarket parts on it. And I do like the way that everything mounts as far as your optic. So I think they kind of hit a home run there with that gun. And it does feel really good in my hand. Not the shorter one. The longer one's not bad. What is it, the L or whatever? But the MR920 is a little short for me. But, I think I would definitely buy one if that's the route I was looking for. I wouldn't hesitate to buy one. Plus, they're made in Plano, Texas. So they're made locally.
Hold on, I got to yell at my fucking dog. So
okay.
I got my one dog is getting old, and I swear to God, I'm gonna fucking old yeller at some point. And I love that dog, but Jesus Christ, she's driving me insane. Sorry about that, dog lovers.
I'm doing the chat in the front. We changed this to an office, and my wife's redone everything and stuff like that. So I've got my big line desk here and all that. But my dogs are just like right there. So I had to give them a treat. And I was like, they're probably going to start barking and raising hell right when I'm on the chat. So, but
she's been a great dog, but Jesus Christ, man, she's hit the age where she barks at everything now. She hates other dogs. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So,
what
she may have to go on a dirt picnic pretty soon.
Let's see here. Where is that? I don't know if Eastwick Farms. I don't know if he's asking you if you have big hands or I have big hands.
No, I think he's asking you.
Oh, yeah, I have XXL. So
yeah, you haven't realized Big Johnson has the largest hands in the world right now. Okay, just so you know.
Yeah, I've got some monsters.
He can palm two basketballs at once.
Actually, I could palm, I'm not joking, I could palm a basketball when I was 11 years old. And I still can, in my old ass days, I can still palm a basketball. So, yeah, you ought to see me hold a football. It looks like a freaking little Nerf football. But, yeah, it's, I always, I'm still on the lookout. And I don't know if you know this, what was really funny. Did you hear that the LAPD actually went and now they have a contract with FN 509s? They're all going to start carrying FN 509s.
Well, I hope they love them.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, and they're all going to be the MRD, so I'm like, okay, are they all going to be optic ready? Because if you really look at the footprint of it and the compatibility, FN, that setup is freaking awesome. I mean, it is. So I'm wondering if they're going to let more officers carry optics, or, I know they have to go through an approval process to get selected or whatever, but I thought that was pretty cool that they were going something other than Glocks or Smith & Wesson or whatever. I thought that was kind of cool that they were going to FN, but they also might have got a smoking deal on that deal to get that contract too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not obviously a police officer, but I'd be concerned to have police officers in abundance have, optics on their guns, because, if you're familiar, a lot of regular officers do not have a lot of time, shooting at the ranges and everything, so they go through qualifications, like I think once a year. So I'd be a little hesitant, because then, they're shooting at the bad guy, but then they shoot, little old Granny, little Jimmy, his sister, little Becky, and then maybe Nick, the bad guy. So I'd be a little hesitant with that, but that's just me.
Well, see, okay, from my point of view now, being into dots, like hardcore, I guess carrying a dot for, every day for like over 2 years, knowing what I know now, I would actually say the opposite. Because some people, depending on the position that the officer has to shoot from, if he's like around a car or a barricade, it might be hard for him to get that exact, exact perfect sight picture on iron sights. With a dot, you're putting the dot on the bad guy and shutting it down. So even if he has to take a long distance shot, like if he's across the road and the guy is shooting or whatever, you're more apt, I think. Now there's guys that can do it with irons. I'm not saying they can't, but if you're in an awkward position, or if you've got to take that critical shot, the bad guy's holding a kid and, he's doing something crazy, I think that's where the dot can come in and shine. If it's a quality dot and it's zeroed in.
Sure.
That's my opinion. So I would just, it's kind of like with a red dot on a rifle. You
Right.
get that acquired position and pop, off goes the off.
Right. But I also think, if you're going to compare a red dot on a rifle versus a handgun, there's much more stability with a rifle than there would be with a handgun. And that would be my concern.
And I would insist that they do qualify with it, that they do meet special. And from what I know, a buddy of mine is an officer and with a big department, and he is qualified for his dot. He did have to go through different training. He does have to, go and I think he has to do more proficiency with it than just a regular iron officer. But, he enjoys it. He actually likes it better. He prefers it better. I think more of them are going to be going to it. So maybe this is what LAPD is doing. Maybe they're just going to make everybody become dot qualified and stay up on it. But you're right. I mean, a lot of officers and, they don't have the time to put in to do that, but maybe they're going to get there. Hopefully. Yeah.
I guess we're going to find out how this experiment works.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. But I think, I'll put it this way. I proved it with some friends of mine, and they're novelist gun shooters. I mean, very novelist. And so they've shot irons, they have irons on their gun. We went and shot, and I was showing them all the basics. I actually handed them my P10C. So they were shooting a Glock 45 MOS, but no dot on it. So that's what he was shooting. And then I handed him my P10C with the dot on it. So he shot a group with his 45. I looked at it, the Glock 45, and it was okay at 7 yards. It was still in his stomach. And then I handed him the dot. Both of them have absolutely no dot experience. Now it was zeroed in. They actually went from that to that pretty much instantly, both of them, the son and the dad. So right there, just kind of proved my point, that if you can put that dot, and I did tell them beforehand, I'm like, do not stare at the dot. Look at your target and let the dot get in the way. So I told them that right up front, and it was just like, and I asked them at the end of it, I even have a video on it. I said, which one did you like better? And they're like, the dot by far. And they'd never shot a dot in their life, other than on a rifle. But I don't know. I'm not trying to say you've got to have a dot or else, but I'm just saying it was neat to kind of do that experiment with them with absolutely no experience with pistol dots. So,
well, I believe you said in a video once that if you didn't have a red dot, you're a dumbass. I believe you said that, sir.
No, I did not.
I think you did.
I think you did. I said, and that's the video we're talking about. No, I said I was told back in the day with the rifles, with a rifle.
All right.
Oh, you don't need a red dot. If you go to, if you can't shoot iron sights, you're a dumbass. No, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
People were saying.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was saying that's what people evolved over to red dots on rifles. And I've said,
I've been shooting a little bit more with the red dots on the handguns. It's interesting. I tell you right now, the most accurate gun right off the bat that really took very little, changing of the sight picture and everything was that friggin' Walther, man. That thing was on as soon as I put the dot on there. No problems. Everything was lined up great. I just made one minor adjustment, and it shot very, very well with the optic. And I actually have the 507C, the green one, on there. And I love the green. If you guys are on the edge about green or red, I am 100%. If I could have all the dots in green, I'd get them, because it shows up so much easier for me compared to the red one. So
I was curious about the same thing, and I don't have a lot of experience with green. I've only shot one green one a couple of times, or one time.
It's excellent.
And,
excellent.
But I've made this comment a couple of times on the chat that, with the fiber optics, I'm a green guy. I love the green on fiber optics versus the red. So I really do want to get a green one. And honestly, since I like the ACSS Vulcan so much, I might buy the green one.
I would recommend it. And honestly, it's weird because in a less lit environment, if that makes sense, less lighting in the environment, I find that the red is sharper than the green. But in a brighter environment, the green shows up much better for me. And I have to be practical about it, because where I shoot, it's like a dungeon. So it's always dark there. But if I'm out on the street and it's light out or whatever, to me, that green it hits the eye, and it's boom, it's dead on. There's no issues with it. I was very impressed with the green. So for me, I would highly recommend the green.
Yeah, and someone was asking a minute ago how I like the chevron, since I've kind of played with it, and I've played with dots. Now I've got 2 stigmatisms. So on the dot, I get a little bit of blur, but I do notice on the chevron, it's actually much crisper. I mean, I really don't get any blur with that chevron. And I was like, wow, it actually kind of surprised me. Well, when I spent more time with it, I was doing like up downs this weekend, and I was like, I could pick it up real quick, and there was really no blister or just a little, I don't see a comet or anything crazy. Mine's just more of a bloom, but I didn't get it out of the chevron. So I'm actually pretty impressed. I'm going to mute this real quick because my wife's coming home, and this freaking engine is loud. So I don't want y'all to have to deal with this. Can you hear it? Can anybody hear it?
Nope.
You can't hear that?
No, were we muted? Did you mute us?
I just did now. Okay.
So,
I think she just,
from
to shut it off.
The one thing that I've been working on too is just presenting the dot to the eye, just kind of getting used to that idea of just looking at my target and bringing that dot to the target, so to speak. So I've been working on that. I feel like I'm getting a little bit better. Obviously, I still am not an all-in personality with it, but it's fun. I mean, it's definitely fun. And I think my biggest thing, my personal issue with it was because my hands have that tremor. I'm not going to lie to you and say that dot is steady, because it's not. Yeah. But interestingly enough, the groups are tighter, even with shaky hands. So, man, there is some fact to that. And, will I keep using it? Yeah, I definitely am. I was actually shooting the MR920 with it, and I've got to sight that in a little bit better. It's still a little bit off. But so far it's been fun. It's been challenging. So I think because it's been challenging, that's where the fun part comes into it. Just trying to learn it a little bit better.
Here's the easiest way. I did a lot of dry firing with it before I went, and this is just my little tip, and I'm not a pro. Please, I'm not a trainer. I'm not a pro. I'll never claim to be. But I got about 10 yards away in my house, and there was a light switch, that you just flip on a light switch. And what I did is I just did up downs, and I would just put the dot right on the light switch. And that way I would know if I was low or high or whatever, but don't do it real close. You need something farther away, and just do that. And then go around your house like you're pretending like you're clearing a room or whatever. Just go around the light switches. And then that way you can transition. It's all dry fire. Make sure your ammo is put away and all that stuff. Don't do anything stupid. And you don't even have to pull the trigger. You can actually just, kind of press in on it, not click it, if you don't want to sit there and rack it. Now, if it's a Glock or something, or even a striker fire, you can take it out of battery, fold a little piece of paper, stick it right in there, and that'll give you a trigger, and you don't have to re-rack it. But just go around the house and do that. And I'm telling you, that helps so much. And then when you go to the range, it's just like, okay, that bullseye is a light switch. So, and no, she doesn't drive a Harley. It's a tricked out Charger with Magnum 44, Flowmaster 44s on it, so it's loud as shit. But anyway, just go around and practice in your house, and then when you go to the range, you will actually see how good you are with it. As long as it's sighted in correctly, you'll just be like, holy crap. And don't look at the dot or the chevron, look at the damn target and let the dot get in the way. But it really does help a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, Chris has a question, and this is actually something, oh, where did it go? And this is something I was actually concerned about too. You know, with that chevron, you got the little point, and what I do is at the top of the point is where I'm putting my, target. So I'm trying to use it like this. Sorry, but I was concerned with the chevron. Hey, sorry. I was actually concerned with the chevron cover up too much of the target. And here's a couple of ways you can play with it. And this is what I did at the range. I was using the target, the top of the chevron, for pinpoint dots, like for, really tight groups. And then I was actually placing the chevron like right here, and I'd shoot them in the nose, because you can put that chevron right in the face and you're going to hit the T-zone, and you can put it right in the chest and do the exact same thing. So the tip of the chevron right here is 25 yards. Then it goes 50, and then the bottom of the chevron is 100 yards. So it's actually kind of cool because it gives you that, built into the chevron. With a dot, you just got a dot. So if you need to kind of do like a bullet adjustment, it's kind of cool that it allows that. That's the first one I've ever seen that actually kind of gives you a CQB reticle kind of built into it if you know how to use it. So I was experimenting at like 25 yards. I took it out to like 40 yards. I was just goofing around with it, and I did not film any of it. I was practicing. I'm not teaching. I mean, I don't teach, but I'm not filming crap. I'm trying to practice to see if I really like something. So I'm actually pretty impressed with it, as of right now. So I don't have a final thought. There's a couple of things that are a little different. I'll talk about it later, but I do like it.
Yeah, it just sounds way too complicated for me.
But it's really not. That's what I'm saying. It's as complicated as you make it, because now, I mean, if I grab an iron gun, I'm so used to looking at the dot, just kind of going up. Now I'm like, oh shit, now I'm looking at the front sight and the rear sight, and I'm kind of, making sure I'm all good. But the crazy thing is you can shoot sideways. I can just sit there and hold it sideways, and just where the dot is, I'm like, ding, 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 ding. It's just no big deal. So once you get used to it, I mean, there's really, and I've said this before, for me, there is absolutely no reason to ever go back to irons for me, ever. Now, can I still shoot irons? Yes. Are they as fast for me now? No. But they're still definitely doable.
Interesting.
But like I said, I've really put a lot of the dry fire in, and I've really done a lot of, shooting a ton of ammo, trying to get used to it. I did not give it a fair shake way back when I first started, even prior to the 2 years. But once I locked in on it, now it's weird, because I have carried guns without a dot recently, or not real recently, but probably 6 months ago, I carried one, doesn't have a dot. And even the way that it is on my body, it's like, I'll put it in there and I'm like, oh, this gun doesn't have a dot. It's just kind of like, because your body just kind of forms to what you're carrying. So it's definitely different without a dot now. I just expect to have a dot. It'd be kind of like grabbing a rifle with irons. It's like, oh shit, okay, so.
Yeah, I'm going to keep on going with them. See how much better I can get, but it's like, you want to talk about the train wreck of a shooter. I think that would be me. The shaky hands. I shoot pistols right-handed, but left eye dominant. It's like, you got to be kidding me. Like somebody decided to mess with me before I was born, saying, you're never going to shoot a gun right, son. So we're going to shake your hands up, and we're going to give you the cross dominance just because we want to fuck with you a little bit. So, well,
I will say this, and now I know that you have a medical condition for that. I do know that it's a tremor. I know that, but I will say this: as I'm getting older, and I have arthritis, I've said this before, but I don't advertise it. But I notice that when I'm really, like locking that gun down, I do see a little more movement with my hands, just due to age and things like that, and also arthritis and grip strength. I'm noticing a little bit more of a shake even within myself, because that's going to start happening with people. So, back when I was younger, did I have that problem? Hell no, I didn't. I could just sit there all day and shoot groups and, holes inside of holes, but that's not really what I'm shooting for. And that's what I don't think, like when I just show a group and I'm just like, da, 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 it'll be a group that big at 15 yards. Okay. That is your face at 15 yards. Am I trying to hit you in the left eyeball or the right nostril? Hell no. I'm just trying to injure you. So that's people get so wrapped around that freaking axle.
That pinpoint accuracy, you know?
I'm like, dude, I'm sitting there as fast as I can pull the trigger throwing lead. I don't give a rat's ass where I hit you as long as I hit you and don't hit a bad guy or a good guy. That's all it's about. I don't give a rat's ass if I hit 10 shots inside of 10 shots. Now, if you're shooting precision rifle or something like that, that's a whole different ball game. But people just get wrapped around that. You know, I put up groups and they're like, oh man, I can shoot groups better than that with my high point or whatever. And I'm like, who gives a rat's ass? You know, I don't care. Good Lord. But you know, it is
that's the reality too. You know, like a lot of people, like you said, they you got to have every hole inside of each other. Wow, that sounds weird. But my thing is that I'm not really gearing for that. I mean, you know, if I look, people are fat nowadays, so it just makes it easier for us to hit them. So thank God, keep eating, people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's it is. You know, like I said, you can be more. I think if you're really, really, really going for pinpoint accuracy and you're bench resting a gun and all of that,
it's a whole different story.
But also I think if you've got your dot completely dialed in, I mean, like if you're shooting at 25 yards and you've got that dot dialed in at 25 yards, do I think the dot is more accurate than irons? I would say yes, because you know you've got it anchored. You're not bringing in the human element. You know, it's like in a vise or on a sandbag. But people don't shoot like that in real life. You know, they're not just sitting there going bang, bang, bang. I mean, I shoot like if something were to happen, I'm going to be dumping around. So I'm not going to be, okay, I'm going for his left eyeball. I don't give two shits about that. So, and then I've even had people bash me going, dude, you're shooting a dot and you put up a 3-inch group at, you know, 10, 15 yards. I can do that at 25 or 30 yards. I'm like, who cares?
Well, you know, the one thing that I've noticed when I'm still starting, I won't say that I've accomplished much with the dot world, but I've noticed that a lot of the times when I'm shooting, it's kind of fun to watch the pattern as you make small adjustments, because I always shoot low. I don't know why the hell I'm doing that. It's probably the wrist and then all that other shit. But all of a sudden, when I start to really, you know, kind of get that focus up and now I know what I'm looking for and I'm bringing the dot up, you kind of see almost like a constellation going up. And it's kind of interesting to watch because it's literally almost like in a straight line going all the way up into the target. It's pretty cool. That's what I like about it. You know, I wouldn't say that I'm comfortably carrying dots right now. Do I think I could hit somebody with? Yeah, I think I could. But I think the most interesting part of the whole thing, and then this kind of gets lost a lot in the conversation, is it's a challenge. You know, I'm challenging myself to do something different. And I think a lot of times people forget that. You know, it's easy to just pull a gun out, shoot with the irons, and boom, 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 holes everywhere, no problem. But it's like after a while, you just get bored, you know? So I'm just in the middle of just challenging myself to see what I can do versus what I can't do.
Well, you know what? You've actually said something that is actually awesome, because when you shoot a dot, you should shoot in a straight line. Okay.
Right.
But here's the thing. As the gun is raising, you need to bring it back down and then pull the trigger when there's the target. See, what you're doing is you're shooting, it's rising, you're pulling the trigger again. Right. That's why you're shooting that line. So as you get more used to it, but the good thing is you're not going left, you're not going right. So that shows that you have the correct grip on the right hand and the left hand, because if you've got a dot and you're sitting there shooting that kind of shit, it's going to show you that you're not shooting at the center of the target. You're actually pulling the trigger when it's off the target. So with that line, that's a very good sign. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah. So, and like I said, I think it's cool. I think it's fun. And I think it's kind of interesting to see, you know, how do you improve? You know, how do you get better? You know, you can only get better and improve if you do something different and just kind of keep pushing yourself. And look, you know, we're all getting older, you know, it's no joke. I mean, I'm almost 50, guys. That's pretty scary for me.
I'm over that.
I don't even want to hear it, but yeah, I mean, I never thought, you know, this many years ago, I'd be saying, man, I'm going to be 50 soon. But, you know, like I said, man, it's like, I just want to keep on playing around with things and seeing, can I get better? And if I suck at it, then I'll stop. But right now I don't know where I'm at with it. I don't think I suck that bad, but I'll get better because, you know, that's just, I can't quit. That's why.
And here's another thing. Everybody says, well, I'm getting older. Okay. But you've got to remember, your eyes are definitely getting older. And that's that's where the dot for me really comes in, because, you know, I can look at iron sights, you know, we used to be like front target focused, or you would see a little bit of the, you know, like I would still be target focused, but I could see, I don't stare at my front sight, but it's in the way, you know, so to say. You know, and you're kind of lining everything up, but if you're a little bit off, you might shoot a tad left, you might shoot a tad right.
Sure.
With a dot, I mean, you're looking at your target, the dot's getting in the way. So for me, with older eyes, it's definitely made it better. Because if I was, you know, I've done the test, I've shot iron guns recently, you know, just to try it, and I'm more accurate with the dot. And it actually, honestly, is less fatiguing to shoot a dot for me, because I'm not trying to, you know, look at too much shit. It's like, there's no thought process. It's just like, boom, you know, to where before I'm like, oh, okay, I need to move this up, move that down. I'm not doing any of that. It's just boom and go. So I think, and of course I haven't been in one, but I think if something went down and I had to draw it, it's just going to be so much quicker for me than having that mindset of trying to line everything up. Because the last thing we want to do is injure a good person. I just don't want to do that. But and that's another thing, I kind of shoot like what I was talking about before. I'm aiming for the chest, for that T-zone, and I'm sending it, you know, so you're going to get dropped. But if I had to take a critical headshot, or if I had to take something, I think that's where the dot even comes in more. If you've got to take a longer shot, for me personally, you know, and having a good trigger, you know, I've said that before. If you're trying to pull a 6-pound trigger, you know, you're going to get more shake, and then that's going to mess up your sight picture. And with a dot, if you've got a heavy trigger, that dot's going to sit there and go like that. So where you thought the front sight was moving, you look at a dot, that damn thing's going crazy. So that just dry fire with your trigger will actually make you a better shot with with a dot gun. I mean, right off the bat. So.
And interestingly enough, I noticed that between the green and the red, I actually shot the green better when I was using the circle dot. And then I was shooting it better in red with just the dot, which is very weird. But for whatever reason, it just worked better for me in that mode on the green. I don't know. I like that. I honestly, like, for me, I like not having that pinpoint dot. I like having the circle dot, because it just allows for a bit of a wider, you know, and I guess because I have the shake as well, you know, it just makes it a little bit easier to picture what I want to shoot. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. I mean, it's hard for me to describe.
Because if you look at an EOTech reticle, you know, you've got the 65 MOA for a rifle, and everybody calls that the donut of death. Like, you just put that donut right there. Yeah. And that dot's in the center, that's where it's going to go. So if you put that on the chest, you know, and I've done practice between the 2 MOA and the 32 MOA. And if I just put that big circle right on, you know, like kind of round the body, like the center of the shoulders, the dot's in the center. That 2 MOA dot is still in the center. So I know it's going to hit them right there, but it gives you that little bit of a leeway. However, I do find myself going to the dot more, just because, you know, if I've got to take a farther shot, I just don't want the ring to be like here on somebody, because it gives me a margin of error. I would rather have, you know, the tighter dot, but it's just whatever perception. But I do like having the choice between the 3 reticles. But, you know, it's just my opinion. I mean, I would say everybody, you know, is going to be different or prefer what they like. But, you know, and that's kind of like if, you know, like, and that's a neat thing about the ACSS reticle, you know, and I'm not trying to push that down anybody's throat, but the thing that I'm learning about it is every once in a while, like even with the SRO, I've got the bigger window, I could pull it up and I could still see the dot. That's not a problem. But, you know, with the smaller window, when I pull it up, I'll still see the dot, but I might see a little bit of that ring, the big ring, and it automatically tells you exactly. I mean, it's instantly, I don't even have to think about it. My brain is just like, there's your chevron right there, go up. And it just like, whoop. Before, you know, you might be doing that when I was first learning. I don't do any of that anymore. So that thing's kind of like, it has training wheels. And then when you want to turn the big 100 MOA circle off, you just hit the minus and hold it, and then it goes just to a plain chevron. So it's like you buy that, you've got the big thing to help you. And then, you know, it's kind of like I told everybody with the Holosuns 507, the regulars, train with the 32 first, just when you draw it up, you'll see it, and then move to the single dot if that's what you want to do for more precision, so to say. And that helped me, through this whole process. So
sure,
just little things I can throw out there to try to help somebody. This is actually a funny question. I'm sorry we haven't taken a lot of questions. It's been a while since we've had 17 on, so I wanted everybody to be able to catch up and let him talk. But any opinions on the RI, the Rock Island STK 100? That's that aluminum Glock frame.
Yep.
Thing.
I was able to handle one. Actually, like 2 weeks ago, I was able to get my hands on one. And my initial impression was, it's pretty cool. And then my second impression was, this thing's a piece of shit. It's kind of cool because of the aluminum lower. But it's a Rock Island armory, and honestly, I'm not sure that this is territory that there wouldn't be problems in with them. It's like their first striker fired gun, so of course there's gonna be problems with it. I mean, I'm not a fan of the lower because there's really no traction on it at all. I like the way it sits low in the hand, and that's nice. But I mean, would I buy it? I mean, it's $600. I ain't buying that. I mean, that's just my opinion.
We have them here for $550, and it's in the store. I played with it, even put a picture up on, the community thing, and I held it in my hand, and I was like, I like the aluminum frame itself. I didn't really care for the traction. It wasn't grippy, but I was like, I like the weight. I pulled the stock trigger multiple times, and I was like, you know what? This stock trigger is better than a factory Glock trigger. It's definitely better. Smoother, it just feels better all the way around. Especially for a Gen 3, and that's what they were basing it off of. So I like that. But I was looking at the sights, and I was like, and I know that it's, you can put a dot on it and all that. But then I was like, the sights aren't that great. Now, granted, you can change them. But I was like, for $550, it is an aluminum frame. Okay, if that's what you're going for. But I was like, it needs work. I mean, they need to redo some things. Well, then, Humble, and you can go watch his video. He's got it out. After you see that, I was like, I mean, I would have never bought it anyway because I don't care nothing about that, but or anything about that. I shouldn't talk like a hillbilly, but it just didn't do anything. And then that kind of proved the fact. I think when they have a Gen 2 come out, which they already supposedly are working on changes, they might fix all the bugs in it, but it doesn't shoot point of aim, point of impact. It's way off. You can shoot 115 regular or normally, but all the rest of it's crazy. From what I understand, they put a different pitch or a different twist barrel. I think it's got like a 118 twist. Every
which was and right.
So.
And what Humble said was it was the same twist ratio on the M&P. And I had the original M&P, and Humble might disagree, and I'm gonna say I don't give a shit if he disagrees. That fucking gun, I could not shoot it straight if you shot it through a tunnel that was 3 inches wide. It just wouldn't hit anything. It was all over the place. That was one of the.
I had
I see.
And I couldn't hit the broadside.
I could not shoot that thing accurately at all. It was terrible.
Tumbled. No, it was known for that. And so they actually sent me, I complained so much about it, they actually sent me an updated barrel when they came out with that 1 in 10 twist. And then I dropped that in there. It was like night and day. I was like, holy shit, this is point of impact. It's perfect. But it was because of that. And I think Rock Island just fell off the deep end on this thing.
I definitely think they get an A for effort. I think, and again, Kyle is saying that, wait for the Gen 2 to come out. I just think, I think it would be more enticing if it was $350. There's no way I would pay $600 for that gun. There's just no way. It doesn't have anything on it that I say, wow, it's got aluminum lower. Well, great. I got like 3 SIGs that have aluminum lowers, and I got plenty of CZs that have aluminum lowers. So for me, it was like, the trigger, like you said, was very good. Obviously optic capable, which I think is going to be obviously on every single gun.
Another thing. It can only fit one. Exactly.
The Vortex, right?
Nope, but it's the only one model of it that nobody freaking uses. And they already know about that, and they're going to address it. They made it too narrow, and even the one that goes in it, he had to hammer it to get it in there.
Yeah.
No.
That's why, to me, it's like, that's why I said I would never buy that thing. And I think it is a piece of shit. I think it's a good effort, and it's kind of cool, and it looks nice, and it felt pretty good in the hand. But it's not anything. $600, no way. No
Well,
way.
it's kind of like, we've talked about this before. It's kind of like the new first model of vehicles that come out, should you buy
Sure.
them and things like that, Ford Bronco. There's some issues with first stuff that comes out, so just
Sure.
be aware of it. But
Absolutely.
what do you think about the PSA Dagger? Armsman's asking, what do you think about the PSA Dagger?
I think anytime you look at guns that are being designed after Glocks or like a Glock, but you see that the price is like $250 less than every Glock that's ever been made, I think that should be a huge red flag. I think people are getting, I don't want to say lazy because I don't want to insult anybody, but I think people are getting used to this idea that somehow Tauruses are actually really good guns for the really low price that they are. And let's not forget, Taurus had a terrible track record with their firearms, just horrible, dangerous, horrible guns. And now all of a sudden they're making these cheap guns and they look nice and they come in different colors and that's got this bell and whistle. But at the end of the day, it's still a Taurus. And honestly, if that's what you can afford, buy it. By all means, I would never tell you not to, but I still think there's better choices. But I think you're getting the same kind of deal with the PSA Dagger. I think it's you're looking for a gun that's like another gun, but for half the price. So Glocks are not infallible; they're not perfect. They still get screwed up every once in a while. How could you expect something that's half the price to not be screwed up right out of the gate? I mean, it makes no sense to me. So the guns like that, I usually would not even bother looking at. But that, again, that's just one person's opinion.
Yeah, and when and I've had the old Tauruses way back when, the Beretta types, and had issues with them, the metal ones, and that really turned me off from them. And I don't go down the budget line. I've talked about that before. I'm not that guy. I buy guns to actually enjoy and shoot. I don't buy guns for reviews, and I know a lot of people do, and that's cool, and I appreciate them for that, but that's just not me. I think that the way I look at it, okay, and I know that people are on budgets, and I have nothing against that. But if it meant me carrying a gun that I could potentially has a weird track record, and of course, before I carry a gun, I'm putting some rounds down it. I got to believe in it. I don't care if it's a freaking $3,000 gun. But if I'm going to carry it, I'm going to test it. But, the people that are like, okay, I'm going to buy 3 Tauruses, and I'll have one at home, one in my car, one on me, and all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, I would rather save the money, get a really super reputable gun, whether it even be a used Glock or a used, Smith & Wesson or something that's proven, and just carry that one gun to the 3 different places. Keep one on your nightstand, carry it with you. You don't need 3 guns laying around if you're worried about that and you're budget conscious. Because I always tell people this when they're looking at new guns, and I'm not trying to be a butt or anything, but I'm like, how much is your life worth? Is it worth to save an extra couple of $100 and maybe wait 3 or 4 weeks or a month or whatever to get a good gun that you might not have any issues with? Or do you want to take a chance? And I'm not saying, I know Tauruses run and a lot of them have tons of rounds down them, or, the Rock Islander, add another name in there. I just want something more reputable and that also has, like, if something's going wrong with it, I mean, really between a Glock and a Smith & Wesson for their customer service, because I've dealt with both. Personally, I would rather take the Smith & Wesson because their customer service is unbelievable. And Glock just is a little bit longer, but they usually fix it too. But, I don't know. No gun is perfect, but I just don't want that, that little thing hanging over my head, like, especially right now. A lot of people have bought these Tauruses and things like that, but they couldn't afford all this ammo with this crazy prices that a lot of it has been recently. So they've shot 2 mags through it, and then they're carrying it, and they're depending to defend themselves and their family with, and that's just not enough rounds to know if you're going to have an issue or a potential issue.
Right. And I think it's so different now than it was, let's say, even 2 years ago, because we could have this conversation 2 years ago and say, why would you buy a $300 Taurus when you can buy a $300 Shield? Because of everything that's happened in the past year and a half, you don't find $300 Shields anymore. Now you're finding Shields $450. You're finding the new Shield 2.0s at almost $600. And that's what they were when they first came out with the original Shield 1.0. So it's like, I understand why people now are kind of gravitating to those more affordable handguns, because there's no such thing anymore as an affordable handgun, because all the prices are still going up.
Yeah.
So I get it. But like you said, I mean, you know, if it's a long-term commitment and a long-term investment, then honestly, save your money till you get something better, because it would be like buying a shithole house and thinking, oh, I've got the best house in the world, when you've got a septic that's overflowing, roaches inside the kitchen, when if you would have just waited, you could have bought a really nice house a month or 2 months down the line. So, I mean, it's, you know, it's a tough situation, because you want people to have firearms. And I encourage everybody I speak to, go out, get your license. Even if you don't want a gun, just get in there, get your firearms permit if it pertains to your state like mine, just so that there's more of us on the roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'd also encourage people, buy something quality. Even if it's used, you can still find quality guns, but it is going to cost more than it would have 2 years ago. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So you just have to be kind of prepared for that.
Yeah. I think Kyle's making fun of me. He said, oh, hang on, where did it go? Oh, yeah. But I also laugh at the dude at the range with the staccato that he shoots once a year. So Kyle's making fun of me.
I don't have a staccato. I've never owned a staccato. I don't really want a staccato, to be honest with you. Man. I mean, all right. So we've gone over a half hour here. So I'm going to ask you one last question. Is there anything that you personally right now are looking to getting, like a one firearm, handgun, right? I don't give a shit, whatever. Is there one thing right off the bat you can say, yes, I'm definitely getting this gun?
I do want the Dan Wesson DWX full size. I definitely want it.
So let me rephrase the question. A gun that actually exists in this universe?
Honestly, absolutely no.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
That's what I thought.
Because it's either a Polymer Wonder, which I have plenty of, or, you know, I already have a 2011 that I carry. I mean, there's nothing out there that just really, and I've got 1911s. I mean, there's just nothing that's super, super exciting right now for me. I got Shadow 2s, I got all those, and I just, you know, I'm just being honest, no, nothing.
Interesting.
What about you?
You know, honestly, there's not a lot of new stuff. Like I said, for me, I'm looking at trying to find older things that I can fix up, make look pretty again, and then just keep them. You know, I think that's where I like to try to invest some of my currency, because I honestly, I really am really getting back into the Beretta line, as much as it pains me, because the APX was such a good gun, and they fucking screwed it up, Beretta, because I still think the APX was such a great gun with no marketing at all, and it was just great. It's just a great gun. But I really am getting back into like the M9 series, the 92X I'm looking at hard, just some older Berettas, and then just kind of building it up from there, because I think they're really great guns. It's a shame that they don't really, you know, do much marketing unless they're shotguns.
Well, and you know, I have said this many, many times, as being a long-time gun owner. Well, you start here. I started with, you know, revolvers and 1911s. Everybody makes that circle. So you do the Polymer Wonders, then you kind of go back to some steels or double action, single actions. Then you kind of, you know, come back to a 1911 or whatever, you know, and I'm back to a 2011 now, because I have always loved 1911s. They're the trigger, you just can't beat them. A good 1911. So now I've got a good 2011. Now I still love my CZs, you know, my Shadow 2s and all that, but they serve a different role. And that's what you know, like, you know, KS was on not too long ago, and now he's back to that whole Beretta thing. And that's what I'm saying. It's like,
and I'm blaming him for that, by the way. Yeah.
It's kind of like, you dog paddle in the deep end, you know, and you kind of play with all these different guns and stuff. And then you're like, you know what? I don't really, and I pretty much even summed it up. And I'm like, if I have something in my collection, which I still have even a lot of those, but if I can walk into a store and I could walk right over and go Glock 19, and I've got the same Glock 19 that's not customized and that I could go out and buy tomorrow. Now, of course, the prices are higher now, but it's like, why keep it? I mean, what purpose, unless you're using it every day, what purpose does it really serve to have that particular stock production gun? Now, if you've done custom triggers and, you know, all this other crazy stuff to it, Cerakoted it and made it your own, I can understand keeping it. But if you haven't, and you're not going to shoot it, and it's just sitting there, and I've got plenty of them that are just sitting there. You know, I've got guns I hadn't even shot in 5 years, and they're just sitting there. So I'm actually, I mean, I'm not joking around, and I'm actually, you know, kind of thinking about it. And I even got rid of some of them. I mean, I'll admit it. Recently I got rid of 4 guns. And just because, hell, I hadn't touched them in 3 and 4 years, and I still got plenty of them that are in the same situation. They're fun to go shoot every once in a while, but I'm like, if I can't put a dot on it now, if I can't mill it and put a dot on it, I really don't want it, unless it's something that's super hard to find.
And that's where I'm going. Like even with the Berettas, I mean, you know, I'm not milling any of them, but I want to add them to the collection because I do. I think they're just brilliant designed guns, and they're, like I said, they're super easy to work on. It's one of the first guns I've ever completely torn down completely, and I was nervous, but then when you did it, you're like, holy shit, that was really simple. So I like working on them, and I just like to. I like to kind of. I guess refurb them so that it gives them just a new look. Like I look at the 90-2 and I'm like, man, that gun is so fucking beautiful. And all it took was some new springs and a beautiful Cerakote job. And that's what I'm looking at doing right now.
Yeah, you're making it your own. And that's what I appreciate about the ones I've done. But Guy Comet just brought this to my attention. I had no freaking idea. Just want to point out there are no thumbs down tonight. Holy
You're welcome.
Crap. I think that is a first. Well, I didn't even have any before you even came on. And usually when I post it, there'll be like 5 or 6 thumbs downs right off the bat. So maybe they're all off tonight. The bad people, maybe they're, you know, the haters, maybe they took a night off. But
so one last thing, and then I got to go. I got to get up for work tomorrow. But I did buy a gun this summer. Somebody in the chat tonight did mention what that gun is, but I'm not saying what it is. So hopefully I'll have that in the next few weeks. I am super excited, but I do want to give a shout out to KS and say, fuck you, KS, because you made me buy that gun. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. And it's because he had the gun and he kept saying, oh man, it's like the best gun. You got to get it, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, oh shit, you know, and I always wanted one, but I was like, damn it, it's expensive. And then I said,
I bet I know what it is.
No, you can't say it.
I'm not. But I'm saying you haven't told me, but I bet I know what it is. And when we end this, don't get off because I do want to guess and see if I'm right.
All right.
So we'll be completely off the air, so we won't give it away.
Yeah. I will say that I did dry fire it, and it's friggin' pretty damn awesome. So I give him. I
think I know what it is. I
give him the old FUKS, but what a great recommendation.
Yeah, no, KS is a good guy, but yeah, no, I really appreciate you. I appreciate everybody out there. I'm sorry we didn't get to a lot of questions, but it has been a long time since we've had 17 on, and I really wanted to, you know, find out about what's been going on because honestly, we've only texted a couple of times. It's just been
I've been non-existent, man. I've been in every state known to mankind this past summer, so it's been brutal. In a brutal year.
The thing is, if y'all have any questions for 17 or even myself, leave them after the chat. 17 can check in. He can answer his questions. And, you know, if there's, hey, we want both of your opinions, I'll answer, he can answer, whatever. But, you know, I just really wanted to focus on him because it's been so long and I don't want to put y'all off. I understand that. So if you've got any questions, please let us know afterwards. But it was a joy to have you on, man. Really, really enjoyed it. But of course, families first. I completely get it. And this has been a great chat. Really a lot of fun and good to catch up with you, man. And I know the family appreciated it, but if you want to be on again, holler at me, you know, we'll make it work again.
You got it.
But,
absolutely.
Yeah. But thank you so much for being on, man. I really appreciate you. Thanks for everyone out there. You know, y'all all be safe, carry on, you know, carry your firearms with you and, you know, do what you need to do. So thanks everyone. Y'all have a great night.
See you guys in a couple of years.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.